Welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Quinnell, and I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season. We've all here at WrestleTalk HQ been off for a few days, but I'm sure wrestling's been pretty chill in that time too, right? Nothing big happening. So The Rock's coming back to WWE, AEW higher-ups are leaving the company, and Chris Jericho got into a social media argument with a lawyer about an NDA about Brawl. Right. So let us begin with what has permeated all of 2023. AEW's backstage. The company's undergone several changes this year with regard to its staff, and there's even more turmoil seemingly ahead, with Fightful Select reporting that Raphael Morphy, AEW's Vice President of Live Events and Touring, is due to be leaving the company at the end of the year. Morphy would have had a big influence on AEW's live events, with PW Insider reporting that he's responsible for setting up live event tours, booking buildings, local marketing, and other logistical responsibilities. He's also said to be a huge factor in AEW securing Wembley Stadium for All in London this year. Morphy has previously worked for both WWE and TNA in the past, but he seems to be shifting away from wrestling, as PW Insider Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio and the Fightful Select report note that he'll be working with the Barclays Center in New York, with Meltzer adding that he'll be booking acts for the venue. PW Insider reported that Morphy notified AEW about his departure at the recent Montreal events, and will be officially finished with the company following World's End this weekend, after he'd been working with AEW since its inception. But perhaps more shockingly, another name is set to leave AEW as well, that being the Chief Marketing and Merchandising Officer, Dana Massey. Now you may be thinking, why is this one such a big deal? Well, Massey isn't just the Chief Marketing and Merchandising Officer, she's also the wife of one Matt Jackson, one of the Executive Vice Presidents of the company, and has also been with AEW since the start. According to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio, AEW attempted to re-sign Massey, but she declined. So what happened? Well, as most things do in AEW, all roads lead to CM Punk. You heard about this little thing called Brawl? Dave Meltzer speculates on Wrestling Observer Radio, I think with everything that happened over the last year with her husband and brother-in-law vilified and never defended and never being allowed to defend themselves and the company never defending them, it made it really difficult. Meltzer confirmed that the Young Bucks themselves, Matt and Nick Jackson, had re-signed with AEW as they felt it was the best financial move for them, but Massey didn't. With her, I think it just got too tough. I'm sure there's other things too, but that was a lot of it. The fact that she felt they were never defended at a time when they probably should have been defended by the company. Another situation was mentioned too, one specifically about Punk himself, where he publicly called out some merchandise ahead of Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor in July. A commemorative t-shirt was made for the event, but had the date wrong, listed as Saturday, July 21st, when it actually took place on Friday, July 21st, and also had the location wrong, as the event actually happened in Trenton, New Jersey, not Newark, New Jersey, as was originally listed. Punk posted an image of this botched merch on his Instagram story with the caption, "Absolutely not shocking. How could this happen?" This was highlighted as just one of the moments that could have made Massey's time with AEW difficult, as she was the Chief Officer of Marketing and Merchandising, and a factor into why she's leaving. As Alvarez and Meltzer spoke about on Wrestling Observer Radio, AEW isn't dying by any means, but it is changing and evolving. It's a very different company these days. For better or worse, I don't think we'll be able to tell just yet, but give it 6 months, a year, and we can see if AEW manages to flourish in its new era. So let's talk about Brawl some more, shall we? It truly will go down as one of the most pivotal moments in AEW's history, and just when we think the ramifications of it are finished, we get pulled back in. The topic was broached once again on X in the past few days, as the attorney of both Ace Steel and CM Punk, Stephen P. New, was asked on Wrestling with Rip Rogers if he could give any details about the NDAs they'd signed to do with the incident, to which he responded essentially saying that the NDAs were for life, so you won't hear any details about it forever. Chris Jericho seemingly saw an article posted by the X account Web is Jericho, which is apparently his own wrestling news account, and quote tweeted it saying, "I didn't sign one." This caught the attention of the attorney, Stephen P. New, who responded saying, "It's in your employee handbook unless you have a special one. We can figure it out." This apparently didn't sit well with Mr. Jericho, who said, "Hey, Stephen P. New, I don't adhere to an employee handbook and have never had one in 4 years of working for AEW. I've also never signed an NDA in my life. ever. So stop trying to be a bully and making egotistical fantasy brags for your clients, and start doing some research before you make blanket statements about your buddies. Because I saw everything that night, including how Lucy and her husband and best buddy acted and what really went down. And since I was in the room and watching her and everybody else the whole time, I know exactly what really happened. And considering you weren't there and I was, maybe you should shut your mark ass up, because what really went down was disgusting. Chris, it's 4 a.m. on Christmas morning, please. New had one more response saying, "Thank you, Chris. We will just attach this tweet as Exhibit A. Merry Christmas." Steve, it's midday on Christmas Day, please. Who knows if the details will ever come out about what truly went down, but the likelihood is we'll never know, because even if someone has their side of what happened, it will probably clash with another party's side of events, so it'll only ever be rumor and innuendo online. Hey, but The Rock is probably coming back to WWE, so that's fun, right? Yeah. Wrestling's fun. Every year since 2020, around when we get to the end of the year, speculation starts picking up that The Rock is going to come back to WWE around the Royal Rumble to have a match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And, just double checking, yeah, that hasn't happened yet. But will 2024 be different? As part of the road to WrestleMania in 2024, WWE will be putting on Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia. Much like with other local authorities paying for events to come to their locations, such as Clash at the Castle in Wales or Backlash in Puerto Rico, the state government of Western Australia is reported to have paid for Elimination Chamber next year. But it seems they want a little more than just the show, as they were also asking for specific talent, or more accurately, one specific talent. According to emails obtained by the Sunday Times under Freedom of Information laws, the tourism board asked about their ability to dictate key talent to participate. For example, could we aim to secure WWE alumni such as Dwayne Johnson? I love the idea of them asking, could we maybe ask for certain wrestlers to appear and perform on the show? Like, oh, I don't know, let's just say a name. Hollywood A-list actor and one of the most famous people in the world, The Rock? WWE's response to this email was redacted, so we don't know what they said, but that's not the only clue that Rocky may be coming back to WWE soon. On Instagram, The Rock recently posted a series of images from a recent Make-A-Wish experience, talking about his experience of meeting Jaden. But he also left a little something in the caption of the photos, where he said, "I told him a little secret." Shush emoji, that may or may not involve some dude returning to WWE to lay the smackdown on all their candy asses. Winking emoji, hand-waving emoji. The winking emoji and hand-waving emoji are carrying a lot of weight in this one, but that sure would be an interesting thing to post if he wasn't in fact returning to WWE to lay the smackdown on all their candy asses. What would you do with a Rock return to WWE? Let me know in the comments. There's so much other wrestling news to cover, so let's go with a little lightning round of news. Goldberg recently said on Steve and Captain Evil that he tried to be a part of Sting's retirement match at AEW Revolution next year. It was said in a way that made it sound like he isn't part of it, but tried to be, so chances are it's not him, but we still don't know, so it could be. The two haven't shared a ring since the year 2000. The ace of New Japan, Hiroshi Tanahashi, has been announced as the new president and representative director of New Japan Pro Wrestling, taking over from Takumi Obari, with Hitoshi Matsumoto taking up the role of director, replacing Michiaki Nishizawa. New Japan also mentioned in their statement that at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th, Tanahashi will be addressing the fans directly about his new role within the company and what it means. MJF wants to be acting full-time in the near future after saying as much in an interview with comicbook.com. MJF recently portrayed Lance Von Erich in The Iron Claw and was credited as an executive producer on the film. Speaking in his interview, MJF said, "I genuinely think in 5 years from now, I'm going to be a guy that people see regularly on their TV screen outside of the professional wrestling landscape. Trust me, I love wrestling too much to not still be involved in it. I will most likely still be full-time, but I want to be acting full-time as well by then." He also mentioned that he'll be one of the greats who transitioned out of wrestling and into acting, like The Rock, Batista, and John Cena. WWE hosted a live event at Madison Square Garden last night, which saw CM Punk's first match back since his most recent return at Survivor Series, where he beat Dominic Mysterio. Seth Rollins also paid tribute to Bray Wyatt at the end of the show with a heartfelt promo, and Fightful Select is reporting that internal WWE live event reports note that the show was a sellout and was WWE's highest-grossing domestic non-televised event of all time. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics noted on X that this means that the show must have exceeded $769,000, WWE's previous record from 2018. That's it for the news today, but our coverage of the WrestleTalk End-of-Year Awards continues over on the WrestleTalk podcast channel, so click the video on screen now to watch what was voted on as the worst matches of 2023.